The invoice from last year's party was still pinned to my refrigerator when I started planning this year's celebration. $15,347 for Sophia's 29th birthday party. Premium venue rental, professional catering, custom floral arrangements, live band, open bar, and a photo booth with custom props. 200 guests had attended, all raving about how magical and unforgettable the evening was. Sophia had cried happy tears when she saw the surprise video montage I'd spent weeks creating, featuring messages from friends and family from around the world. It had been perfect. Just like every year for the past 12 years. My 30th birthday had been 6 weeks earlier. I'd spent it alone in my apartment eating takeout Thai food and watching Netflix. Mom had called around 9 p.m. "Oh honey, I'm so sorry we missed your birthday. Things have been so crazy with work. We'll definitely celebrate next weekend." Next weekend never came. It never did. But here I was again 3 months later, planning Sophia's 30th birthday celebration because this is such a milestone, and we need to make it extra special. "I'm thinking something elegant this year," Mom said during our planning meeting at her kitchen table. "Sophia's been working so hard at the marketing firm and she just got that promotion. She deserves something really spectacular." Dad nodded, flipping through venue brochures I'd printed out. "What about that rooftop place downtown? The one with the city views?" "That's $2,500 just for the venue," I said, checking my notes. "Plus service charges and minimum spend requirements." "Well, it's Sophia's big 3-0, Mom said. "We can't be cheap about it." I looked around the table at my parents, my Aunt Linda, and my cousin Mike, all of whom had gathered to plan Sophia's party. The same group that had forgotten to plan anything for my 30th birthday. "Have we set a budget?" I asked. "Whatever it takes to make it perfect," Dad said. "You always do such an amazing job, honey. We know it'll be worth every penny." Every penny that I would spend, he meant. It had started when I was 18 and Sophia was 16. I'd just gotten my first real job out of high school, administrative assistant at a law firm, and suddenly I was the family member with steady income. When Sophia's sweet 16 rolled around, Mom had suggested I help out with the cost since I was doing so well financially. What started as contributing a few $100s had gradually become planning and paying for the entire celebration. Every year the expectations got bigger. Every year I spent more money I couldn't really afford on parties that got more elaborate. And every year my own birthday got smaller and quieter until it disappeared entirely. "I'll start calling venues tomorrow," I said, already resigned to another year of financial stress and months of planning. "You're such a good sister," Mom said, squeezing my hand. "Sophia is so lucky to have you." That night I sat in my apartment and calculated the damage from the past 12 years of birthday parties. My conservative estimate was $180,000. $180,000 of my money spent on celebrations for a sister who had never once offered to help plan or pay for my birthday. I pulled out my laptop and started making a different kind of list. Year 1. Sophia's Sweet 16. Cost: $4,200. My birthday, forgotten because we were so exhausted from party planning. Year 2. Sophia's senior year celebration. Cost: $8,500. My birthday, let's do something low-key next weekend, that never happened. Year 3. Sophia's high school graduation party. Cost: $12,000. My birthday, we thought you'd want something more mature than a big party. I kept going year after year, documenting the growing extravagance of Sophia's celebrations and the complete absence of my own. By the time I finished the list I was shaking. 12 years. 12 birthdays ignored, minimized, or postponed indefinitely while I bankrupted myself creating magical memories for someone who had never once asked what I might want for my own special day. But what really made me angry wasn't the money as much as that hurt. It was the patterns I could see clearly now that I'd written it all down. Every year Sophia's guest list got longer. Every year the expectations got higher. Every year my family treated my financial contribution like an entitlement rather than a generous gift. And every year when I tried to bring up my own birthday there was always an excuse. "You're so independent, we didn't think you needed a big celebration. You're not really a party person anyway. We'll do something special next year when we're not so busy. Birthdays are more important when you're younger." I'd believed these excuses for 12 years. I'd told myself that I was being mature, that I was being selfless, that I was being a good sister by prioritizing Sophia's happiness over my own desire to feel celebrated and appreciated. But looking at the numbers, seeing the pattern laid out so clearly, I realized something that made my stomach hurt. My family had trained me to believe that my birthday didn't matter so they could justify spending my money on Sophia's. The next morning, I called the rooftop venue and made a reservation for Sophia's 30th birthday party. 200 guests, premium package, open bar, the works. The deposit alone was $3,000. Then I called my event planner, Maria, who had helped coordinate the last few years of parties. Same thing as last year? Maria asked. Actually, I want to make this one extra special, I said. It's Sophia's 30th, so let's pull out all the stops. What's the budget? $25,000. There was a pause. That's quite a bit more than usual. I know. But I want this to be unforgettable. What I didn't tell Maria was that I was planning 2 parties, not 1. I spent the next 6 weeks in a whirlwind of preparation. Venue coordination, catering tastings, floral consultations, entertainment booking, invitation design, and all the countless details that go into creating a perfect celebration. My family was thrilled with the progress reports. This sounds incredible, Sophia said when I showed her the menu options. I can't believe you're doing all this for me. It's going to be the party of the year, Dad said, looking at the entertainment lineup I'd arranged. Everyone's going to be so jealous, Mom added. Throughout all the planning, no one mentioned my upcoming birthday. June 15th was 3 weeks before Sophia's July 6th celebration, and it passed without acknowledgement just like every year. I spent my 31st birthday at the venue, doing the final walkthrough with vendors and confirming last-minute details for Sophia's party. But this year was different. This year I had my own plans. While I was publicly planning Sophia's celebration, I was privately planning something else entirely. I'd contacted a yacht charter company and reserved their premium vessel for July 6th, the same date as Sophia's party. I'd also been having some very interesting conversations with Sophia's friends and our extended family. You know, I'd mentioned casually to Sophia's college roommate Jennifer during one of our planning calls. I've been thinking about how much money I've spent on these parties over the years. It's been over $180,000. Wait, what? Jennifer had said. You've been paying for all of these? Every year for 12 years. Venue, catering, entertainment, decorations, everything. I had no idea. I thought your parents. Nope. Just me. Similar conversations happened with other family members, with Sophia's co-workers, and with friends who had attended multiple birthday parties over the years. I wasn't complaining or asking for sympathy. I was just sharing facts. By the week of the party, quite a few people had quietly asked me about the financial arrangement and expressed surprise that I'd been covering everything myself for over a decade. Some of them also asked about my own birthday celebrations. Funny thing, I'd said to my cousin Rachel, I can't actually remember the last time I had a birthday party. My family always seems to forget. The day before Sophia's party, I confirmed all the final details with the venue. Everything was perfect. The flowers would be delivered at 2 p.m. The catering staff would arrive at 4 p.m. The band would set up by 6 p.m. The bar would open at 7 p.m. I also confirmed the details for my own celebration. The yacht would be ready for departure at 6 p.m. sharp. That morning I had one final conversation with my family. I'm so excited I can barely sleep, Sophia said when I called her. Thank you so much for making this happen, Jess. I know how much work you put into these parties. It's my pleasure, I said. You deserve to have a perfect celebration. Are you sure you don't need help with anything last minute? I feel bad that you always do everything yourself. For a moment I almost wavered. Sophia sounded genuinely grateful, genuinely concerned about the work I was doing. Then I remembered the 12 years of forgotten birthdays and the $180,000 I'd spent creating magical memories for someone who had never once thought to create any for me. No, I've got everything handled, I said. Just show up and have fun. What about you? Sophia asked. Are you going to actually enjoy the party this year instead of just running around managing everything? Oh, I have my own plans for tonight, I said. I'm finally going to celebrate properly. At 5:45 p.m., I was standing on the deck of a luxury yacht as it prepared to leave the marina. The sun was setting over the water, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. I was wearing the dress I'd bought for Sophia's party. A stunning navy blue gown that had cost more than some people's rent but felt worth every penny. In my hand was a glass of champagne. Premium champagne from the same supplier I'd used for Sophia's parties. At 6 p.m., as the yacht pulled away from the dock, my phone started buzzing with text messages. Sophia, where are you? Guests are arriving and you're not here. Mom, Jessica, people are looking for you. Where are you? Dad, the venue says you never confirmed final details. What's going on? I turned off my phone and took a sip of champagne. Because here's what my family didn't know. I had confirmed all the final details with the venue. I'd confirmed that the reservation was cancelled and all deposits were forfeited. I'd confirmed that the catering was cancelled. I'd confirmed that the band was released from their contract. I'd confirmed that the flowers would not be delivered. I'd confirmed that Sophia's 200 guests would arrive at an elegant rooftop venue to find locked doors and no party. The yacht captain approached me as we cruised into the harbor. Everything satisfactory, Miss Thompson? Perfect, I said. Absolutely perfect. I'd chartered the yacht for just myself, which probably seemed excessive to the crew. But after 12 years of throwing parties for hundreds of people who barely acknowledged my existence, celebrating alone felt exactly right. As we sailed into the sunset, I thought about what was probably happening at the venue. Sophia arriving in the dress we'd picked out together, expecting to walk into her dream celebration. My parents frantically calling me, trying to figure out where I was and why nothing was set up. 200 guests standing outside a locked venue, confused and disappointed. I felt a moment of guilt, then remembered spending my 31st birthday alone in that same venue, checking that every detail was perfect for someone who had never once returned the favor. My phone had 47 missed calls and dozens of text messages when I finally turned it back on at 10 p.m. I was back on dry land by then, sitting in an upscale restaurant I'd never been able to afford before I started spending $15,000 a year on someone else's birthday parties. The messages were predictably frantic and angry. Sophia, I can't believe you did this to me. This was supposed to be my special day. Mom, 200 people showed up to nothing. How could you embarrass us like this? Dad, this is unacceptable behavior. We need to talk immediately. Aunt Linda, everyone is asking what happened. This is humiliating for the whole family. But there were other messages too. Messages that surprised me. Jennifer, Sophia's college friend, I hope you're okay. After our conversation about the money, I understand why you needed to make a point. My cousin Mike, honestly, it's about time someone called out how unfairly they treat you. Rachel, I'm proud of you for finally standing up for yourself. Even some of Sophia's co-workers had reached out. We had no idea you'd been paying for everything. The way your family takes you for granted isn't okay. I spent Sunday morning at a spa, getting a massage and facial that cost less than the floral arrangements for one of Sophia's parties. My phone continued buzzing with increasingly angry messages from my immediate family. Monday morning I called in sick to work and drove to my parents' house. They were waiting for me in the living room along with Sophia, who looked like she'd been crying. Sit down, Dad said in his most serious voice. We need to discuss what happened Saturday night. I celebrated my birthday, I said, taking a seat across from them. You sabotaged your sister's birthday party, Mom said. 200 people were left standing outside a locked venue because you threw a tantrum. I didn't throw a tantrum. I made a choice. What kind of choice was that? Sophia asked. To humiliate me in front of everyone I know? I pulled a folder out of my bag and set it on the coffee table. Inside was every receipt, every bank statement, every contract from 12 years of birthday parties. The choice to stop spending my money on celebrations for someone who has never once celebrated me. I opened the folder and began laying out documents. Year 1, $4,200. Year 2, $8,500. Year 3, $12,000. I continued through the list, placing each year's receipts in chronological order. The total amount I have spent on Sophia's birthday parties over 12 years is $184,637. The room went quiet. Now, I continued, let me show you what my family has spent on my birthdays during that same period. I pulled out a much smaller stack of papers. Receipts for the occasional birthday dinner that I had paid for myself. A few greeting cards. Nothing else. The total amount this family has spent celebrating my birthday in 12 years is approximately $300. All of which I reimbursed you for. I let that sink in for a moment. $184,000 for Sophia. $300 for me. And even then, you made me pay for my own celebration. Money isn't everything, Mom said weakly. You're right. So let's talk about effort and attention. I pulled out my phone and opened the photo album I'd created. These are photos from Sophia's parties. Every year the whole family participates in planning and celebrating. Everyone's there, everyone's engaged, everyone makes sure she feels special. I scrolled through 12 years of party photos. Sophia surrounded by family and friends, everyone focused on making her day perfect. These are photos from my birthdays. I showed them an album with 6 photos total. Me alone at restaurants. Me alone at home. Me alone, always alone on what should have been my special day. I have more photos of myself at Sophia's birthday parties than I do of my own birthdays. Sophia was crying now. I didn't realize. You didn't realize because you never asked. None of you ever asked. We thought you preferred low-key celebrations, Dad said. Based on what? When did I ever say that? He couldn't answer. The truth is, you convinced yourselves I didn't need celebrations so you could justify spending my money on elaborate parties for Sophia without feeling guilty about neglecting me. That's not true, Mom protested. Really? When was the last time anyone in this room asked me what I wanted for my birthday? Silence. When was the last time anyone planned anything for my birthday without me having to arrange it myself? More silence. When was the last time anyone spent their own money on my celebration instead of expecting me to pay for my own birthday dinner? The silence stretched long enough to become uncomfortable. I have been financing my own sister's lifestyle for 12 years while my own family treats my birthday like an inconvenience to be ignored, I said. And when I finally decided to celebrate myself instead of her, you called it sabotage. But all those people, Sophia said. They were so confused and disappointed. Were you confused and disappointed when I spent my 30th birthday alone? When I spent my 29th birthday alone? When I spent every birthday for 12 years alone while you had elaborate celebrations that I paid for? I thought you wanted it that way. I wanted it that way. I wanted to be ignored and forgotten while spending my savings on parties for other people. Sophia looked genuinely stricken. No, that's not. I mean, Sophia, you're 30 years old. You have a successful career and your own income. When exactly were you planning to start paying for your own birthday parties? I never thought about it. You always handled everything. Because no one ever asked if I wanted to handle everything. You all just expected it. I stood up and started gathering my documents. Where are you going? Mom asked. I'm done, I said. I'm done spending my money on people who don't value me. I'm done sacrificing my own happiness for a family that takes me for granted. And I'm done pretending that any of this is normal or acceptable. You can't just walk away from your family, Dad said. Watch me. I headed toward the door then turned back. For what it's worth, the yacht was beautiful. I had champagne and dinner on the water while watching the sunset. It was the best birthday celebration I've had in 12 years. And it cost less than the floral arrangements for one of Sophia's parties. I left them sitting in the living room, surrounded by the evidence of 12 years of financial and emotional exploitation. The next few weeks were difficult. My parents alternated between angry phone calls demanding I make things right, and guilt trips about abandoning the family. Sophia went through phases of anger, denial, and what seemed like genuine remorse. Extended family members took sides. Some supported my decision to finally set boundaries. Others thought I had gone too far, that I should have found a way to address the problem without humiliating Sophia. But the most interesting conversations were with Sophia's friends and co-workers, many of whom reached out to me directly. I had no idea you were paying for everything, Jennifer told me during a coffee meetup. Sophia always talked about these parties like your parents were throwing them for her. Did she ever mention my birthdays? I asked. Jennifer thought for a moment. Actually, no. I don't think she ever mentioned your birthday at all. That conversation was repeated with a dozen other people over the following weeks. People who had attended years of elaborate birthday parties had no idea I was funding them, and most had never heard Sophia mention my birthday even once. The financial impact of stopping the party payments was immediate and dramatic. For the first time in 12 years, I had money left over at the end of the month. I started a savings account. I paid off credit cards. I booked a vacation to Italy that I'd been dreaming about but could never afford. The emotional impact took longer to process. I started seeing a therapist who specialized in family dynamics and financial boundaries. She helped me understand that what I'd experienced wasn't just favoritism or neglect. It was a systematic pattern of financial exploitation disguised as family obligation. You were trained to believe that your value to your family came from what you could provide financially, she explained. When you stopped providing, they didn't know how to relate to you. 3 months after the canceled party, Sophia called me. "I've been thinking about what you said," she began. "About the money and the birthdays and everything." "Okay." I talked to my therapist about it and she helped me see some things I didn't want to admit. Sophia had started therapy after what she called the worst birthday of my life, had forced her to examine her relationship with family and money. "I never paid attention to your birthdays because I was so focused on my own," she said. "And I never thought about the money because it was just always there. You always handled everything. That doesn't make it okay." I know it doesn't. But I want to try to make it better." "How?" "I've been calculating what I owe you. For the parties but also for interest and opportunity cost. My therapist helped me understand that you didn't just spend money on me, you gave up things you could have done with that money." She had done the math more carefully than I had. With compound interest calculated at a conservative rate, my investment in her birthday parties could have grown to over $250,000 if I'd put the money in index funds instead. "I can't pay you back all at once," Sophia continued. "But I want to set up a payment plan. And I want to throw you a birthday party. A real one that I plan and pay for myself." "Sophia, I know it doesn't fix 12 years of being selfish and thoughtless. But I want to try." We talked for over an hour. Sophia had clearly been thinking deeply about our family dynamics, her own behavior, and the impact of 12 years of one-sided celebration. She kept her word. 2 months later, she threw me a birthday party that she had planned and paid for entirely herself. It was smaller than her usual celebrations, about 50 people instead of 200, but it was thoughtful and personal in ways her parties had never been. She'd made a photo slideshow of my life, not just family photos but pictures of my achievements, my travels, my interests. She'd hired a local band that played songs I actually liked instead of whatever was trendy. She'd arranged for a cake from my favorite bakery instead of the most expensive option. The party cost her about $8,000, still a significant amount, but much less than what I'd been spending on her celebrations. More importantly, she'd put thought and effort into making it about me rather than just throwing an expensive event. "This is what a birthday party should feel like," she told me during her speech that night. "Like the people who love you have been paying attention to who you are and what makes you happy." My parents attended the party, though our relationship remained strained. They still struggled with the idea that I had overreacted by canceling Sophia's party, but they couldn't argue with the evidence of how differently they'd treated us. "We never meant to play favorites," Mom said during one awkward conversation. "Intention doesn't matter if the impact is harmful," I replied. And the impact was that I spent 12 years feeling invisible in my own family. Today, 2 years later, our family dynamics have fundamentally changed. Sophia has thrown 2 more birthday parties for me, each one thoughtful and personal. She's also scaled back her own celebrations significantly. Last year's party was a dinner for 20 close friends that cost less than $3,000. More importantly, she pays for her own celebrations now and has started a repayment plan for the money I spent over the years. She sends me $500 a month along with a note updating me on her life and thanking me for my patience while she learns to be a better sister. My parents have slowly acknowledged that their treatment of me wasn't fair, though they still maintain that I could have handled the situation more maturely. They've started remembering my birthday, though their efforts feel somewhat obligatory rather than genuine. The extended family has mostly accepted that I set necessary boundaries, though some relatives still think I was too harsh. I've learned to be okay with their disapproval. Most importantly, I've learned to value my own celebration and happiness as much as I valued everyone else's. I threw myself an elaborate 30-second birthday party this year. Planned it myself, paid for it myself, invited people who genuinely care about me. It was everything I'd wanted for 12 years. genuine celebration, thoughtful attention, and the feeling of being truly appreciated by people who love me. The yacht was nice, but being surrounded by people who actually see and value me was even better. Sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is refusing to accept less than you deserve, even if it means disappointing people who have grown comfortable taking advantage of your generosity. My birthday matters. I matter. And anyone who can't celebrate that doesn't deserve a place at my table.